Hello and welcome, everybody out there in Union Arena Land. We are joined here today with Unionversity's Kyle. Say hello.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up?
We are talking about the newest IP coming to NA, Rurouni Kenshin. And today we are starting off with the Big Hiko Deck. This wonderful blue deck is built around being able to play a very big character and for some reason making him way bigger and double damager. Very reminiscent of Saitama, but in blue and in a new IP and in a shell that, well, has a lot of really good potential with it. So, Kyle, how would you describe Big Hiko's overall identity? Is it more of a classic ramp deck or is it aggro?
I would say more like mid-range. The focal point, surprisingly, isn't the fact that you have the 7 cost. It's actually the most amount of time you're going to be doing is spamming your Will to Live, your AP restand. It is focal point for Kenshin that lets you double attack. So being able to spam that option out every turn, which means you have renewable AP restand at all times. So that means you find one. This deck is basically going to make an opponent a little annoyed with how many times you'll actually use an AP restand.
We love taking advantage of free play cards. So what makes you think that this deck stands out compared to many other blue decks or even big style decks in Union Arena?
So basically, it plays similar to most big style decks, right? It has some good focal points that basically with Kenshin being the double attacker, so he allows, and his only requirement is to reach, 6,000 DP, which is very easy with all the effects you have for boosting and stuff. That is why, your goal is to reach these big numbers that basically says your opponent's going to lose that trade, right? No matter what they do, they're not going to be able to block it consistently. So, again, I think it has a lot of potential under the right pilot. That, again, this is a deck you should learn a little bit more before you kind of, take it to a big event, right?
Okay, cool. So, can you walk us through the curve of this deck? Because 7 energy, that is a daunting number to get to. Anybody who's not played a deck like this before, 7 is a lot more energy than 6. Trust me, it sounds like it's only 1. It is a lot more. But can you walk us through the curve of this deck? What is the early cards play in order to help you achieve that big goal of your Hiko?
So, your 0 costs are pretty simply put here is that you have the generic, draw, discard 1 card from your hand. Again, every deck needs 1 nowadays. If you don't have it, what are you doing most of the time, in my opinion? Then we have basically Shinta, which is AKA Kenshin.
Oh, spoiler alert.
I mean, it says this card is treated as Kenshin. Don't spoiler much, okay.
All right.
And then you have Hiko. Hiko is when played, choose up to 1 Kenshin card on your field. It gains 1,000 DP for the turn, which again, so Kenshin, when you use Force of will gain 1,000. Then you would just play Hiko to kind of boost him up, so he is now dealing that double attack. Again, similar to a lot of decks that have this certain gimmicks that similar to I would say the focal point would be a gimmick centralized around the red JJK deck, the sorcerers, because they focus on having a certain requirement to kind of just get their double attack, and which is part of their end game, right? So being able to multi-attack with Kenshin is kind of the focal. So again, early game is just setting up with your filtering and, just having your raids ready to go. And then you kind of get into, the ones, which is Kenshin himself. So he's going to help you filter as well, because again, you need to get to your double energy generators as soon as possible to present yourself that getting to 7. So you have a lot of filtering with this. And then you have Kenshin that is at least a nullify impact. So again, a threat that your opponent has to answer before they start swinging with punching you in the face with impact. So, and then being able to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place any number of them on the top of your deck in any order, place the remaining cards into the sideline. Again, filtering, you need to get to your pieces, right?
That is such a good effect. I love that effect so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great effect. Being able to stack your deck means you get to think about your plays, right? So it's super important. And again, that's kind of like our early game, because basically we move up into now the 3 costs. You know, this is the new Kenshin that is 3,000 DP, but if it's in your energy line, place 1 Will to Live from your sideline at the bottom of your deck. If you do move this character to the front line, it gains 1,000 DP until the end of your turn. So basically becomes a 4K coming out of the energy line. So again, if you kind of get him live and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now we have 1 of this and it's going to be game closer, you can activate after you use your Will to Live for the turn and then bring up this Kenshin and then basically deal some extra damage at 4K, which again, comboing, it has some great synergy with what the deck wants to do. Then we have the another 3 costs. This is supposed to be Senjuro Hiko. Sometimes, you know, starter deck restriction. This thing is the main reason why you, besides if you're building red, is why you have to get 4 starter decks. Because this card basically says this card cannot be played onto your front line and can only be moved to your front line using its abilities. So it's a restrictive 4K, but it's a 3 cost 4K double energy generator. But when played, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, place any number of them at the top of any order, then place the remaining cards at the bottom, the remaining cards into your sideline. Activate main, place 2 cards from your hand into the sideline. Once per turn, you can only activate this ability if Kenshin is on your field. Move this character to the other line. So basically allows you to get that aggression in so that, A, you have some plays there. I didn't forget to mention something that's very important. Sonochi. This is a very great card for Kenshin, because choose 1 Kenshin on your field. It gets 2,000 DP until the end of turn, and then choose 1 of your AP, switch it to active. So basically, makes your Kenshin be able to double attack. That is huge. So basically, you don't have to use the Will to Live that turn. You just go this, and now he's swinging in for 6K double attack. Again, very much synergizes with the idea that once you get your raid Kenshins live, you're going to attack twice almost every turn. So, very important. Now, again, another great 3 is training. It's this game. It's the deck's sight. So, hyper focused on it. When played, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Hiko or Kenshin card among them. Add it to hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. If you added a card with 4 or more energy requirement, place 1 card from your hand into your sideline. So again, you shouldn't be grabbing like your Kenshin or the 7 drop or your 4 drops with this trading right away. Early game, focus on grabbing your lower end, right? Your 3 costs and stuff like that, so you don't have to discard a card. So that is really clutch in my opinion. So
not a bad sight. At least it replaces itself. I like that.
Yeah. And again, it can be not a neg-1 either, so that's really cool. Yeah. And then we got the 4 cost Senjuro Hiko. So your turn, this card is basically if you use the basically removal spell for the turn, he gains impact or use Will to Live. So basically, like the 7 drop is great, but you could win with your 4 and 5 like Capstone. So keep that in mind that you don't have to win by using your 7. Like, it is a great card, don't get me wrong, but you could win with just getting to the 4 and 5 very comfortably, because again, let's just use Will to Live like over 100 times in a match.
Yeah, I mean, why not make finals more useful? I like Kimli. I like Kimli a lot.
Yeah. And then let's talk about the removal spell. So the removal spell is Kazushine. It's the finishing move. So choose one character with 3000 DP on your opponent's front line, sideline it. But if you have Hiko on your field, which 9 out of 10 times you should, we have zeros, we have, threes, we have a 7, we have 4, so we have enough Hikos to kind of go off. 5,000 VP instead, and choose up to one Kenshin on your field. It gains 1,000 DP until the end of turn. So again, combos in with Kenshin. So again, the deck does have a 7 cost. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely focuses on Kenshin, like I've been saying from the beginning. It just really wants to boost Kenshin. So now we're getting into the final top end. We have Kenshin himself. This character, as long as he's 6,000 DP or more, gains double attack. So this is where your pressure is coming in from. Activate main. If you can only activate this ability if you used Will to Live for the turn, it gains 1,000 DP. When attacking, if you have three or less cards in your hand, draw a card. So again, tempo swings, drawing advantage is always great. Blue is notorious for this.
Yeah, so my favorite gimmick in the game, draw a card.
Yeah, and then we have the 7-drop Hiko. So Hiko comes in with double damage. So during your turn, this character gains 3,000 DP, becomes an 8k double damage. So again, I don't know why. Just make him a 10k, then he can just walk over Saitama at this point. Everybody else wants to boost Kenshin. We should have just made him from base 8k to 10k. Saitama who? But when played, add up to one event from your sideline to your hand. This is where you kind of get your Will to Live back into your hand, and then activate main, choose up to one character on the field. It gains 1,000 DP until the end of turn. So combos in with Kenshin. Again, you're using him to boost Kenshin. So Hiko is just always that great mentor to push Kenshin to his heights.
Yeah, seems like it's very flavorful and very good. I mean, I like the fact that the deck gets to play 46 triggers. Now, let's talk about the matchups that this deck will have. What do you think this deck will do well in our current format, and what decks do you think are going to make you a little sad when you play into them if you decide to play Hiko?
Hiko will feel sad if you face purple Kenshin or red Kenshin. It is quick on its feet. Don't get me wrong. It has some potential if you open right? But they also can't open the nuts. If they open the nuts, you are going to be on a back foot, right? It is. Right. This deck has great ideas going for it, and I really love where it's trying to go for. But at the same time, it does have just small cogs in its pieces that a Volume 2 would clean it up pretty nicely. I think, it needs one of those, trading could have been a really well as great if trading could have been, on top of it. If you use Force of Will, the Will to Live this turn, this thing became a Generator 3 instead of Generator 2. Then I think this would have brought this deck faster. I think if that was just the only text added onto this card, I think this deck would have been able to deal a lot of great damage into like red and purple Kenshin.
Okay. Now, what do you think somebody picking up this deck for the first time should know about it before they start playing it?
If you like Kenshin, not a bad entry deck. It's going to be great for budget wise, because people are going to put it under radar. But again, like I've mentioned the whole video, Kenshin is the star of the show. You do have Hiko in there to support him, but Kenshin is going to be where you're going to get the most damage output. He's going to be able to double attack each turn, means that as long as you keep that pressure up, most likely your opponent's going to be eventually going to feel worn down, especially if they're losing a lot of resources, because We know that the history of the game. If you can get multiple attacks, especially if you get like 2 Kenshins live, swinging double attack every single turn, eventually something's going to give. Because again, 6 attacks, 5 attacks, anything like that can slow down an opponent. It will get through eventually.
Okay, well, I think that covers just about everything we wanted to discuss today. Huge thanks to you, Kyle, for walking us through the Big Hiko deck and showing us what the deck can really do. Where can everybody find your content?
On the YouTubes, I do a lot of more meta discussion, showcasing of ranking of decks and how decks are performing weekly. Those datas really do play a part. Make sure you use hashtag UA tops. That is a way for me to find you besides using EX Burst. I think being able to use that as our tops category will help out a lot.
Okay, and of course, you can find both of us down in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here, and look out for the next Deck Tech video. See you in the next one.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Yes!